What's good, people? Uncle Hotep back at it again. I'm in the chair. You know what's serious? I'm in the chair. How y'all doing? In the wake of Stevie Steve, and like I said before, Stevie Steve, you know, the Cleveland killer, has caused turmoil in the African American, the Shine, the Akata community. Toxic masculinity has once again sprouted up everywhere. Now everybody's talking about toxic masculinity. You know, everybody's blaming toxic masculinity. And, you know, it was Stephen, he was suffering from toxic masculinity, and that's why we have to fix that in the black community. This is what all the shines are saying. This is what all the think pieces are writing. This is all the black feminists, all the sweet tea Twitter. This is what all the writing about. It's all, that's the reason that what they took from Stevie Steve shooting an elderly man because he was having problems with Joyland, his girlfriend. She kicked him to the curb. And his mother, let's not forget his mother. All they would take from that is it's toxic masculinity. We have to stop it. We have to stop it. Now, I stumbled upon a blog, The Unfit Christian. The header of it, the shot of Henny in your communion cup. This is one thing about Nignogs, Akatas, the Shines. Like, they gotta niggify everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you just, like, they have to put some nigga shit on everything. Like, the shot of Henny in your communion cup. And even the title of the blog, The Unfit Christian. You know what I mean? They gotta always slander something. It's a peculiar act that the African Americans do. I don't know why. But anyway, she, in her blog, what is toxic masculinity? And I'm going to read the definition that she has here. Toxic masculinity is a narrow and repressive description of manhood, designated manhood as defined by violence, sex, status, and aggression. It's the cultural idea of manliness, where strength is everything while emotions are a weakness. Where sex and brutality are yardsticks by which men are measured, while supposedly female traits, which can range from emotional vulnerability to simply not being hypersexual, are the means by which your status as man can be taken away. Let's dissect this. First, is a narrow and repressive description of manhood designating manhood as defined by violence, sex, status, and aggression. I don't know what man would define manhood as being violent, having sex, and status and aggression. You know, being a man used to be taking care of your responsibilities. That's all. That's what I was raised on. You know what I mean? If you was a man in the house, you took care of everything. You paid all the bills. All the bills was paid on you. You know what I mean? It was on you. Everything that if a bill came, if the oil heater went in the winter, you had to pay $500. That had to come out of your pocket. No one else's. You know, if you had you had a son, you had to raise him to be a man. Had to learn him how to work in the fields. You know what I mean? How to learn him how to do confrontations with other people. I don't know where this violence, sex, status, and aggression came from. I do know where it comes from, but I'll get to that later. It's a cultural idea of manliness where strength is everything while emotions are a weakness, where sex and brutality are yardsticks by which men are measured, while supposedly feminine traits, which can range from emotional vulnerability to simply not being hypersexual, like, are the means by which your status as a man can be taken away. Now, now there may be an issue with some African Americans, the Akatas, the Shines, and that's what I'm narrow this video down to, because I don't see any other race of women calling their men hyper masculine. Let's get let's get that part right out the way. Only African American women call their men hyper masculine. You don't hear Asians call their men hyper masculine. You don't hear Indians call their men hyper masculine. You definitely don't hear white women call their men hyper masculine. White women will flock to the most masculine men they can find, on the most part. Not these new emo millennials. I know you have these emo millennials, and you know what I mean, but on the whole, no. But the only ones that call their men, I shouldn't say their men, their opposite men, their opposite gender, hyper masculine, is y'all. And you know who y'all I'm talking about. And of course the sweet tea Twitter cats, they'll call other men hyper masculine. I don't know why another man would talk about another man's masculinity and call it hyper masculine. I mean, give me a break here. But I don't know where brutality is a yardstick of being a man. That's like if you beat up so many people, does that make you a better man, a bigger man? I don't know anybody that uses these yardsticks. Any sane person that uses these yardsticks. Which can range from emotional vulnerability to simply not being hypersexual. You know, I remember my dad when my dad and my mom broke up, right, and ended up moving in with my mom. We got an apartment, and he brought me over one day and he gave me a box of condoms. And he said, "Don't have a whole bunch of kids running around all over the place." You know what I mean? That was a conversation. That was a father-son conversation, and sometimes that I think in the community, what they're missing is that father-son conversations. And this is why this is the reason I made this video, is because these women, these shines, these akadas, these nignas, these sweet tea Twitter types that want to harp on hyper masculinity, what they're really talking about, and the real reason behind this, is they're nurtured in their family structure, is the shit, is in the shitter. This is where you get these guys like these Steve Stevens. Steve Stevens was broke a long time ago. He wasn't broke because of a culture of hypermasculinity. He was broke because he was raised in a single, had no father. Where was Stevens' father? Nowhere to be seen. I didn't even hear a reporter ask him who's his father. Nobody even asked his father the question. Does he even know who his father is? These are things that are wrong in the black community that ends up causing this thing that you call hypermasculinity. Because you have these boys being raised by these women that can't raise them. You know what I mean? They can't. You gotta sit there and talk to these little boys how to handle their emotions. And when they see their mother acting crazy, fighting in the streets, what do you think they're gonna do? The same goddamn thing. Now I know there's plenty of single mothers that have been successful. Let's get this out the way. Let's get this out the way too, because I'm gonna eliminate y'all talking points. I know there's plenty of single mothers that are successful, and congrats to them. But there's more than that, plenty that are failing. You see what I'm saying? And I hate to use Hollywood, because I read another blog on toxic masculinity, and they were going through scenes in movies where it showed hypermasculinity and it's toxic and everything else. But since I'm talking to the Nog, I'm going to bring up another movie. Boys in the Hood. Now, I think the character's name was Trey or something like that. You know, he was raised by a single mother. You know what I'm saying? And he started cutting up in school. This was the beginning of the movie. So, Eventually, your mother was like, hey, it was a single boy and his mother. Mother was like, hey. She called up the boy's father. She said, hey, you gotta raise this man, this little boy. She can't teach. She said she couldn't teach him how to be a man. You see what I'm saying? But this doesn't happen in the African community anymore. So the boy, he left. The mother shipped him over to go live with his dad. And his dad put him through the paces. You see what I'm saying? But this doesn't happen anymore. They try to when these kids that don't have any fathers and stuff like that, they're shipped off to their father anymore. If he's worth a goddamn, he might be in jail or whatever. She might not even know who the father is. So if you can't teach a boy how to be a man, this is the key lessons in life that are missing. This is what Stevens was missing in life. The father-son connection. His father teaching him how to be a man, how to control his emotions, how to deal with women. There was a video, I even put it on my channel, where Stevens he was blaming what was wrong and what happened and why he was doing this. He blamed his mother. She said his mother raised him to be this person. Now, I'm not absolving Stevens from killing Mr. Godwin. Rest in peace, Mr. Godwin. But his mother raised that man. So why would, if he had issues in life, where do you think they stem from? They don't stem from this culture you guys want to bring out of thin air called toxic masculinity. It comes from single parent homes and boys not being raised by their fathers. It's that simple. Just look at it. Like, if you just look at the charts where single parent homes and you compare the races, and it goes Asian as the lowest, then I think it goes white, then I think it goes Spanish, then the blacks are at the end. Just compare it. Do you see these toxic masculinity traits in Asian men? No. Do you see them in white men? Now you might say like somebody like Trump or whatever, you might see some of that. That might be that old boys club in white men. Do you hear them? But you don't hear the white women call it out like we do in the African American, the Akata, the Shan community. Let's be real here. You don't hear that. You hear it where you have the most single parent homes. This is nothing a deflection. The women that sit there and say toxic masculinity has to be dealt with and this, that, or third is making excuses for the women that are not raising their boys correctly. If you can't raise your boy correctly, you should be sending him to his dad to live with. Like you can't. Like I just don't get it. Like if the dad is not there and he's dead or something like that, of course you have no choice. But if you think you don't need a fatherly influence or male or elderly man influence in a little boy's life, you've lost your marbles, people. It's that simple. I'm sick and tired of these black feminists sitting there and saying, "Oh, black they're holding back their emotions and stuff like that." I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You really, really don't. If you want to know all the problems of black toxic masculinity, look right at the person's parents. It's just that simple. We want to absolve parenting in the African American community. You want to blame everything else except parenting. Well, that's where you should be starting from. I don't understand it. You all should be ashamed of yourselves. This is disgusting. And then you want to break down just this one event. You want to break down the suppression of emotion, the encouragement of violence, the misogyny, all from Stevens. and obviously fell off a mentally challenged individual. And what I mean mentally damaged individual. He needed someone to talk to. Not his mother, not Joy Lane. He needed somebody to talk to. If you didn't hear that in those videos, I can't do nothing for y'all. But y'all should be ashamed and stop making excuses for the parenting in Black America. Some of these women are failing miserably in these single parent homes, and y'all refuse to acknowledge it. Y'all refuse. You want to blame it on everything else. Toxic masculinity. Like, come on. We need to have a conversation about it. Well, when are we going to have a conversation about single parent homes in the Black community? Only Black people think one is greater than two. You see what I'm saying? I don't get that. I really, it boggles my mind that in the African American, the Akata, the Shine community, y'all keep thinking that one person can do the job of two. In some cases, yeah, that maybe that person might be a miracle worker and might do a supreme job. Yes, that is true. But like 7 or out of 8 times, the 3 out of 10 times, that's a failure, a complete failure. Then what are you about to do about those 3 people that are complete failures? They might have 2, 3 boys apiece. But you shines don't want to talk about that because you got to protect your quote unquote your welfare state, whatever the white liberal tells your Black asses, and this, that, and the third. Y'all ashamed of yourselves, man. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Dead ass. Anyway, this is Uncle Hotep. I'm tired about hearing about toxic masculinity. If you want to solve toxic masculinity, solve the parenting problem in the Black community, solve the single parent home crisis in the Black community, and give these boys fathers in the Black community. Peace.